What if it turns out that everything they told you about power is a lie? What if actual dominance does not yell but whisper? And what if the most powerful man in the room is the one who speaks the least? This has nothing to do with charisma. This has nothing to do with being the loudest, the smartest, or the most impressive. This has to do with presence. Machiavellian presence. There are rules you've learned, rules you believe give you power. Be bold, be loud, stand tall, and then there are the rest of the rules, the silent rules, the rules that Machiavelli never verbalized, but practiced. And those rules, they differentiate kings from pawns. In this deconstruction, we're cracking open the 9 behaviors that kill your mystique, the games of the mind that steal your influence, and the micro signals that create legends without ever uttering a word. If you've ever entered a room and felt invisible, or worse, felt noticed for the wrong reasons, this will flip everything. Because power is not gained by being noticed. It's gained by how you're noticed. And Machiavelli knew actual power starts in silence. Never complain in public. It feels like weakness, like honesty. But to the people who actually have power, it's a confession, a leak. It says to the room, I'm affected. And the strong, they're not impressed by that. Machiavelli thought that public criticism indicates 2 things. You're not dominant, you're groveling for pity, and both are deadly. Because when you're in public, your suffering is your identity. You're no longer the enigmatic danger. They view you as needy. Rather, suffer in silence. Make them question what you're capable of. Make them ask how you're not shattered. Don't display pain. Don't explain stress. Be a mystery. Never show insecurity. You may think it makes you human, even honest. But in Machiavelli's world, it makes your armor weak. Tell them you don't feel confident. They'll trust you. Tell them you're not capable. You've just invited them to treat you like you're not. Appearance creates truth. So even when you doubt, never waver. Let doubt live in your mind, not your posture. Confidence isn't a feeling, it's a performance, and the performance becomes the myth. Never boast about your plans. The louder your ambition, the easier it is to be blocked. Once your goals are public, enemies prepare. Machiavelli smiled at people who talked too much. He let them create maps, and then use those maps against them. Want to win? Say nothing. Construct in silence. Show only outcomes. Let your effect precede your motivation. And when questioned about your success, shrug, smile, deflect. Mystery is momentum. Never publicly take sides in small wars. Loyalty is not about whom you defend publicly. It's about whom you remain silent for. Taking sides in a feud makes you a pawn in someone else's war. It creates enemies before you have constructed your army. And worst of all, it betrays your emotional strategy. Machiavelli cautioned, never engage in a battle unless you gain from it. Let others fight. You watch, you note. And when the dust has settled, you strike where advantage is certain. Never demonstrate hunger for attention. Desperation reeks. Neediness is weakness. When you struggle to be liked, you shrink. Instead, enter a room with quiet. Be calm, be indifferent. Let them approach you, and they will, for humans pursue contrast. And in a sea of attention seekers, the one who doesn't crave validation becomes attractive. Never crack under pressure ever so slightly. Arguments, insults, disrespect, these are tests, and most fail, not by blowing, but by seeping. Their voice trembles. Their stance relaxes. Their myth shatters. Machiavelli would not budge. He soaked up tension like armor soaks up arrows. Exterior stillness, inner blaze. That's how leaders are made. Never explain yourself too much. You make a statement. Someone raises an objection. You get nervous. You begin to explain, to soften, to unravel. And at that moment, you've lost. Now they have the narrative. You're explaining your life on their terms. Machiavelli never explained. He redirected. Used the silence to speak. Make them question their response. Perhaps you misunderstood. Or better, perhaps you understood perfectly. Either way, you remain in command. Never display bitterness after rejection. Somebody chooses another, excludes you, underestimates you, you wish to respond. Indicate you are hurt. Get revenge. Don't. Machiavelli termed that emotional suicide, because public bitterness is the loudest expression of weakness. Respond instead with stillness, quiet withdrawal. Pretend they've set you free, made room for better. Have them question why you didn't pursue. Let them chase themselves. Never criticize a more powerful person publicly, even if they are wrong, even if they're deserving. Why? Because perception is not about right or wrong. It's about position. Criticize up, and you appear jealous. Criticize up, and you become a target. Machiavelli would wait. Let the powerful overexpose themselves. And when the time was right, he'd whisper in the right ear at the right moment. Surgical, precise, invisible. Power is in the precision, in the timing, in the silence that evokes, in the words that stay with you. And when you take away the 9 behaviors outlined above, you don't merely avoid being weak, you become mysterious, and the world cannot endure a vacuum. They begin to attribute strength to you. They begin to accommodate you, and that is where true presence starts. But this is merely step 1. The second step isn't to be impressive. It's to become legendary. The rituals that generate power without talking. You've vanquished weakness. Now you construct legend. Trade complaints for unreadable grit. When others shatter, you inhale. When they rage, you watch. When they freeze, you stay still. This doesn't turn you into a robot. It makes you formidable. Because the true power isn't in enduring the moment. It's in making them question how you did it. Trade insecurity for strategic ambiguity. Never utter, I don't know. Instead, say, I have direction. Keep your cards close. Let them wonder. The more unsure they are of you, the more powerful you are. Ambiguity begets overestimation. That overestimation is your buffer. Trade boasting for covert power cues. Power does not scream, it seeps. It's the manner in which you carry your schedule, the manner in which you do not explain your absence, the manner in which others speak of you even when you are not present. Get them to wonder what you are constructing. Get them to pay attention to your silence rather than others' din. Substitute public loyalty with covert allegiance. Refrain from demonstrating alliances publicly. That makes strategy a show. Instead, defend behind closed doors. Admire in silence. Support with accuracy. And have others find your allegiance in your behavior, not your words. Trade attention-seeking for deliberate withdrawal. Come in late. Depart early. Talk last. Have others overflow the room with disarray. You become the gravitational force by simply not orbiting. Curiosity will draw them to you. Trade emotional response with trained stillness, the stare, the silence, the pause before the storm. These are weapons. You don't match their panic. You interrupt it. Your calm is subversive. It's the time they realize you don't set the pace. You do. Substitute over explanation with micro-mystery, a nod, a shrug, a half-smile. You don't tell them what you meant. You let them sit in it. Your words are echoes, puzzles, mantras, and in their head, you expand. Substitute public defeat with elegant exit. When you're being left out, dismissed, ignored, don't flinch, don't respond, withdraw with dignity. You didn't lose, you walked away. And now, every dialogue is a postscript to your silence. Trade criticism for withheld precision. Don't strike first. Don't reveal weakness when it's tender. Wait. Observe. When the moment is present, give one sentence so sharp, so precise, it redefines how others perceive them forever. Power's not in control. It's in installation. You don't merely enter a room, you mark it. You don't speak in order to be heard. You speak in order to be remembered. This is the Machiavellian presence. This is how legends are made. The art of dominating public space without commanding it. Now that you've silenced weakness and implemented myth, it's time to dominate terrain without ever seeming to. This is the art of presence that disrupts, allures, and guides the world in silence. Begin with space. Where you position yourself matters. Most humans enter a room anxiously. You do not. You choose your spot as a sniper chooses his firing position. Corners, walls, space. You're not concealing yourself. You're reconnoitering. Your entry should be purposeful, not happenstance. When you come in, don't glance about as if seeking permission. Don't search for faces to acknowledge. Let the room acknowledge you. Let your stance provide answers, unasked, shoulders uncoiled, chin barely lifted, hands remain still. You're not here to impress. You're here to move gravity. Control the pause. When addressed, don't be quick to respond. Allow silence to linger just long enough to make them question themselves. That pause is dominance. That pause proclaims, I get to decide when energy flows. And when you do speak, speak low, slow, and precision. Words delivered like knives, not thrown like fireworks. Refuse extraneous movement. No fidgeting, no readjustment, no self-soothing behaviors. Stillness is misread as stability, and stability demands respect. Folks notice movement, but they comply with calm. Be the still eye of the hurricane. Don't reflect. Don't match. You're not there to fit. You're there to disrupt rhythm. If they lean forward, you lean back. If they get loud, you become quiet. If they need, be the opposite that they can't avoid. Take last in groups, or better, don't speak at all unless spoken to. It tells people to hold back. It creates tension. The less you say, the more it means. Make others compete for airspace while you ration ammunition. When you eventually talk, people listen. Own bridging. When you rise, rise deliberately. When you exit, do it with ease. Never rush, never linger. When your being ceases, it must resonate. Most importantly, never pursue attention. Design environments where your absence is more disquieting than your presence. Be the one they look around the room for. Be the vibe they find themselves adapting to. You don't control the room, you haunt it. The psychological weapons of invisible influence. You've muted weakness and learned to haunt public space now. But the ultimate expression of Machiavellian presence is not solely about silence or stance. It's about having strings others didn't realize you pulled. This is the domain of invisible influence, of subtle moves that cause others to yield without ever feeling pushed. Begin with questions, not to obtain answers, but to take command. If someone confronts you in public, don't respond. Redirect. If they say, "Why did you say that?" You reply with, "Why do you care?" If they insist, "What do you mean by that?" Say, "What do you think I meant?" Yet suddenly they're defining themselves. They're vulnerable, and you're still in command. Answer fewer questions than you ask. It makes it look like you're open, generous. But you're not revealing anything. You're gathering information. In a crowd, ask each member one straightforward, incisive question. Observe how they react. Who tries to impress? Who retreats? Who dodges? These reactions are their tells. Commit them to memory. Control energy with microscopic signals. It takes just the slightest facial motion to elicit the strongest responses. A raised eyebrow, a slow blink, a subtle smirk. Employ them not to mock, yet to bewilder. When others are unable to understand your responses, they begin doubting their own actions. That bewilderment is power. In public, use your unavailability as a weapon, not by leaving, but by being strategically absent. Show up late. Leave early. Don't talk at every meeting. Have your name mentioned more times than you are heard. The less they see you, the more they fantasize about you. Employ the strength of reworded commendation, never praise. Instead, compliment by suggestion. He walks like a person in possession of information the rest of us are not. She doesn't say much, you just sense it. These aren't compliments, they're enchantments, and they raise people without revealing your tactic. Form phantom alliances. Be compassionate to all, but unaccountable to no one in public. Let people believe that they have your backing. Let them invoke your name as a charm, and when they stumble, you never stumble with them. You just get out of the way. Drop words like seeds, brief, low-key, but indelible. Say them softly and only once. You'll understand later. That wasn't the real conversation. This moment will echo. Then move on. Say nothing more. Let the room carry your words further than your voice ever could, and never reveal your true focus. In a room full of people, never let them know who you're actually watching. Survey everyone, but let your attention feel casual, almost disinterested. Because once they know you're observing, they shift. But when they think you're not watching, they expose everything. Real Machiavellian presence is not showy. It's psychic. It doesn't demand respect. It orients the circumstance upon which respect is the sole reaction. And the less noise you make, the more the world twists to accommodate your quietude, creating a myth that moves without you. That your presence warps space, silence, and psychology. It's time to level up to something bigger. Your legacy, not the one you leave behind when you're dead. The reputation that comes to you before you even show up. Machiavelli did not merely create reputation, he created myth. A myth is not a falsehood. It's a bending of the truth under reverence. It's when folks start talking about you without specificity, but with urgency. To create myth, you need to become a mystery. People desire to decipher, but are never able to. Begin with contrasted strategy. Be many things, but never simultaneously. Let them see you one moment as razor sharp, the next moment as pliable. Soft eyes, hard voice, cruel words, gentle deeds. Let them wonder, which one is true? The answer is both. Myth lives in contradiction. Craft signature behaviors, rituals that live on as legend. Perhaps you always slip away from gatherings first. Perhaps you respond to questions in metaphors. Perhaps your silence, when complimented, becomes the stuff of legend. These habitual patterns are not habits. They're symbols. And symbols turn to myth. Be present in absence. How? By sowing echoes. Speak of a project, but never describe it. Enter a room with impenetrable confidence, then disappear for days. Answer commendation with an enigmatic smile. These seconds echo in memory, and that echoing turns to story. Your myth has to travel faster than you. That means investing in rumors, encouraging hints, strategic leaks. Allow people to accidentally overhear a compliment you paid them. Have them overhear you praise a competitor. Let your alliances be made in their mind. When others start filling out the details for you without your consent, you're a winner. Be the one who could possibly do anything, not by showing them, by leaving them with enough to use their imagination. Never correct their assumptions. Allow them to believe you more powerful, more cunning, more networked than you are. Then stand to meet their faith. Space out, physically, socially, emotionally. Always remain just slightly distant, not cold, unapproachable, present, then gone, engaged, then preoccupied. Get people to pursue moments with you. That pursuit creates yearning, and yearning births myth. Don't fill the room. Fill the retelling of the room. Allow others to tell the story of what you do, how you move, what you say, and never correct them. Because when they narrate, they put you in their heads. And when enough others put you in theirs, you don't have to say a word. They echo for you. The most lethal presence isn't the one that dominates a space. It's the one that alters the way the space reacts once it's left. You're not a presence anymore. You're a legend in motion, a myth honed by silence. And your power isn't what you do. It's what they do when you speak. Transcending strategic chaos. How to gain control of disorder without losing your mind. Once myth has settled around you and your silence has turned into a weapon, there's only one field of combat left to subdue: chaos. Not to escape it, but to reign within it. Most fear chaos. Machiavelli observed it, and then he mastered it. Chaos is distraction, noise, uncertainty, and camouflage. It's the smoke where strategy can work incognito. It's the tempest that only disorients those needing vision to feel power. Machiavellian presence does not fight disorder. It learns in it, like flame taking breath. Begin with architecting unpredictability. In normal settings, individuals follow patterns. They feel safe. But when you disrupt rhythm, when your actions can't be timed or predicted, you become a roving mystery, a power that can't be charted. Show up when they don't see it coming. Speak when there is supposed to be silence. Withhold when there is supposed to be answer. Release pressure when they are expecting pushback. In the midst of turmoil, most individuals lose their minds. But you reshape. Keep your rituals hidden. The more volatile the environment, the stronger your internal beat must be. Day-to-day practices, patterns of thought, frames of mind. You don't require the world to be still, only your internal vibration. Employ confusion as camouflage. When several people squabble, when the voices get loud, when the tactics conflict, do less. Observe more. Allow your quiet to stand against their desperation. While others respond with noise, you watch in silence and select your entry with rifle aim. Deploy calm into chaos. When aggression surges in public, your reply is a measured pause. The room anticipates a blow-up. You provide silence. They press further. You smile softly. Now they're off kilter. That's when you attack, not with words, but with questions that pin down. Why are you responding in this way? What exactly are you fighting to protect? Your composure makes other people appear shaky. At public gatherings, never scramble when things go wrong with plans. Use these words. Let's adjust. We expected flexibility, not because you had a plan B, because you are plan B. Know one truth: the individual who is calm in turmoil becomes the focal point immediately. Individuals reorient to your confidence. Use misdirection when attacked. When someone presses too hard, do not press back. Shift their focus. Bring up something that has nothing to do with anything. Compliment an outside party. Ask a bewildering question. This disrupts timing, and timing is paramount. Control attention. When the crowd is distracted, bring forward clarity. When the audience is concentrated, bring uncertainty in. You are the one controlling tension, loosening, tightening, never actually seen to hold the strings. This isn't manipulation for sadism. It's control of narrative pacing, a stage director. The world doesn't go to the screamers. It goes to the ones who can remain stationary when the room burns and convince the rest that the fire is part of the design. That's the last layer of power, not secrecy, not intrigue, but invincible gravity within turmoil. Chaos isn't your foe anymore. It's your domain. It's your challenge. It's your realm. And now, you don't merely traverse chaos. You create it, the final frame, how to leave an echo. That commands without speaking, you are now the storm. The myth, the specters can't help but observe even when you're not present. And now, the last frame, how to make the kind of impression that lasts longer than you do. This is no longer about domination. This is about echo. The echo is what lingers behind you. It's the aftermath of your impact. And Machiavelli knew the best leaders weren't recalled for their words. They were recalled for their silences, for their departures, for restraint. You begin to master the echo by mastering endings. Everybody believes power is about how you come in the room. But actual power, it's about how you leave it. Leave not after being heard. Leave while they're still listening. When they say, wait, he's already left? Then you've succeeded. Brevity as a marketing tool. Machiavelli would never be verbose. He would speak one time, only one, and let it linger. A word with gravity, a sentence with tension. Say less, and let your audience obsess over the meaning. Drop lines like, "We're only at the beginning." You'll feel the difference soon. Some things aren't meant to be explained, then fall silent. Let them replay those words endlessly. Because repetition doesn't begin with the speaker. It begins with the listener who can't forget. Control who speaks after you. If you're in a meeting, a room, a standoff, never make a weaker voice echo your last words. You have to leave something in the void, something no one is willing to fill. Speak your mind, then sit back. See others struggle to speak, because whatever they say will sound tiny. Claim your disappearances. Machiavelli didn't only make an impression, he made an absence feel like weight. How? By being missed. You have to leave things in a way that people feel the lack when you are not there. It is not necessary to be noticed. You need to be missed. Install this by leaving something open, not messy, just unfinished. A choice delayed, a remark left unclear, a gesture unexplained. Let people bear the unease. That burden? It's your resonance. Employ post-exit influence. Leave and let the world speak for you. Someone quotes you out of context. Let them. Someone questions your quiet. Let them question. Someone compliments you. Remain silent. Each time you react, you shrink the echo. But when you allow the echo to grow untouched by interference, it becomes legend. Construct monuments. This is sophisticated. It's not what you say, it's what you leave unsaid. A symbol, a movement, a silence. Perhaps it's the last thing you write, the manner in which you stand to exit, the space you never enter again. These are not actions. They're markers, memory cues, and memory is strength. Work with rumors cautiously. Machiavelli never pursued image. He sowed seeds. You have to be prepared to allow tales develop uncorrected. Humans will guess. They will misunderstand. And when you fight the need to explain, you birth myth. Legends are not familiar. They're envisioned. And here's the last lesson. Stop asking for closure. The Machiavellian never ties up loose ends. He leaves dangling threads, questions, half-truths. Why? Because humans come back to what they don't comprehend. They fixate on the ambiguous, and in their fixation, they elevate you. You're not the echo because you're boisterous. You're the echo because you're elusive. Because you became expert at public silence. Because you made posture equal presence. Because you made withdrawal a weapon. Because you made every word a choice and every silence a memory. You were never intended to be comprehended. You were intended to be remembered. And now the space no longer belongs to whoever steps into it. It belongs to the phantom they can't ever quite forget. You've become the Machiavellian shadow. Not simply power in motion, but power that haunts, power that lingers after the moment, power that forms even silence, power that reverberates after you're dead. This isn't the end, it's the last frame, where everything dissolves and only you are left. Silence as your last weapon. You've already won the room, now you haunt it. Your last move isn't an address. It's an exit, so razor sharp, it cuts a scar. One look, one half sentence said, one silence a little too long, that's all it takes. Make them speak of you when you're gone. Make them fight over what you said. That's power. You don't have to come back. You don't have to justify. Because when presence turns into legend, absence turns into reverence. Never say goodbye. Simply stop talking. Never exit. Simply disappear. Leave no trace, just expectation. And when they think of you, let it hurt. Not because you sought to impress them, but because you left them feeling small in your silence. You are no longer the voice. You are the echo.